turn the questioning over to our panel. And we're going to begin with Mark here on my right.
Okay, my name is Mark Richardson. I'm a 37-year resident of the Lower East Side and a lifelong resident of New York City. I've raised my daughter in this neighborhood and continue to raise my son here. I'm also a member of the Lands End One Tenants Association. My first question for all the candidates is, how will you ensure that the Lower East Side waterfront is safe and accessible to all residents? And what would you do to control or limit the pace of gentrification in the Two Bridges waterfront area?
Okay, so I know the area very well, and I've been working with some of the leaders there because there has been a lot of developments within the district, and certainly bringing resiliency to our community. We need to make sure that we have these forts locked up and making sure that, you know, we don't get tripped up with any of the things that are going on within our district. Going back to, I think you were talking about gentrification. I think that's something that has been ongoing for a couple of years, maybe more. And to be very honest with you, I don't know the answer to that question in terms of, you know, how do we stop what's going on. However, I am there. I'm very much aware of also of the surroundings of our district in terms of the monster towers that we're having. And these are something that I'm, as an assemblywoman, I am going to fight to try to see if we can connect the infrastructure to some of what's going on in our community, and even have some zoning. Maybe we need to zone some of these areas so these towers won't be monsters. I mean, I don't have the answers to all of your questions, but I am sure I'm going to certainly try as an assemblywoman. Thank you.
Well, I have the answer. I think it's a huge embarrassment for New York State and New York City. I remember how tough it was for us to get a traffic light on South Street, let alone fighting everything else. The banana peel, after years, got us basketball city. The best way to fight gentrification is to identify those properties and build what we need for our community first. And the way to do it, there are many ways, but the best way to do it is to identify the waste and abuse in government. Not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago, a $4 billion mall disguised as a train station was opened in Lower Manhattan. That's embarrassing. We should take money from projects like those and build what we need for our community. That's the solution. Identify the waste and the abuse, apply to where our community have worked so many years and so well deserve the kind of structure that we need. It is an embarrassment that it took so long for us to come all the way across the tip of Manhattan for us to even have to fight for a traffic light. So that's the solution. Let's build what we need first, and then when we have the space, then they don't have the space to build the other stuff. Let's take care of the residents first. Let's take care of the people first. That's how we do it.
Hi, Mark. Thank you for the question. For the past 4 years, the East River waterfront has gone through so many changes, and it will continue to go through changes because there is a 10-year waterfront resiliency project that will redesign the landscape to make sure that the community will be better protected when, not if, when the next natural disaster occurs. And that is very important from Battery Park all the way furthest north right now. The project goes up to 23rd Street. And the community board, the community-based organizations have played a very integral role in coming together and designing a waterfront that the community wants and that the community needs, because it is our waterfront and we should enjoy it while it is able to protect us. But I think the larger issue with the gentrification and how we address it goes back to how us having a seat at the table. And that's why I've been so proud to be part of the Essex Crossing process, because this community demanded a seat at the table, and we played a leadership role in telling the developers what we wanted. And what we wanted was affordable housing. We wanted family services, movie theater, bowling alley. We wanted a park. We have a park where there's a space set aside for a new school. So I think how we address gentrification is for this community to have strong leadership, a strong voice, and make sure that we are leaders at the table and are part of designing the future of our own community.
So like many of us, I've watched the changes in the Two Bridges neighborhood and throughout the Lower East Side over many years and seen a lot of what is so important to the dynamism of this neighborhood be threatened. Specifically, what we can do about protecting the dynamism and diversity in Two Bridges. Number one, we need to support the Chinatown Working Group's vision in all of the zones, including Zone 4. Specifically, we need to demand a ULURP process for new development. But more broadly, and this is not just an issue here in the Lower East Side, this is an issue, as all of us know when we speak to our friends and family who have had to move to other neighborhoods. This is happening across the city. We need to understand with regard to development, people are going to build in New York City. This is New York City. There's 1.5 million more people in this city than there were when I was a kid. There is going to be building. We need to make sure that when they build, that adds something to our community, not takes away. And we don't need to give them a tax break to do it. These wealthy developers need us more than we need them. And if we shave a little cost off of a condo project to make sure that we're adding real affordable housing for our community and a real affordable supermarket in the place of that Pathmark and enough school seats and expanding the sewers and all of the infrastructure demands that their projects put on our neighborhood, they will say yes, because in the end of the day, they want to build. We have the leverage here. What we need is the political will to use it. And I know the Lower East Side, with its tradition of organizing, can summon that political will. Thank you.
So I know that many of us, were here during Superstorm Sandy, and it was frightening to see some of the things that happened in the aftermath. Right now, in the FDR Bridge, literally, lead paint is still falling into our water, coming into our air. It takes about $100 million to repaint the FDR. We need to make sure that the state is taking care of us on that. We need to make sure that people are asking for that money. FEMA has a pool of money that the state needs to be asking for our residents here. We know that we have, the U coming in to make sure that the water doesn't come up, etc. We need to make sure that that's all funded. The study was done. We gave $27 million on the state level to do this funding, to do the study, but we didn't fund the entire project. The city has done some of it, the state has done some of it, HUD has done some of it, but we need to do more. We need to make sure that the next thing doesn't overwhelm us. And we need to make sure that we are building resiliency and restoring the things that are damaged. Right now, we know that in Two Bridges, there's the giant, massive buildings coming up, and every single time we get into this process, people are talking about, we need another 2 years before we can zone. It takes this process. The biggest thing is that our residents and the folks that live here aren't even given a roadmap on how the process works. This is where we are lacking. This is where we need to step up. We need a watchdog. Rivington House can never happen again. Right? Those 2 deed restrictions were supposed to make sure that healthcare facility was a healthcare facility forever. And yet, Our watchdogs did not check the check boxes. They did not talk to each other. The left hand and the right hand did not communicate. These are the things that were happening. And so we need to make sure that we're zoning, we're making sure that folks are actually talking to each other, and that we have the process for our constituents to be able to speak up. Thank you.
The question was about Two Bridges Tower and how we're going to deal with the development and gentrification at the waterfront. I have a history of standing up against overdevelopment in Lower Manhattan, and I have the battle scars to prove it. In 2013, as many of you probably remember, when I ran for city council, challenging overdevelopment happening all over city council, the real estate industry literally spent hundreds of thousands of dollars opposing me, rained down right upon my head. But I have kept fighting because it is so important that we stand up and that we have a legislator in there that's not afraid, but that also is unowned and cannot be bought, completely independent. Also, a legislator in there who can negotiate, who has the skills to extract the concessions that we need from big real estate developers, which for us means more schools, because our schools are overcrowded, more affordable housing, an environment where small businesses can thrive. These are things that I have fought for not just this election cycle, but for several years in our neighborhoods. So yes, 82, 80 Rutgers, huge towers going up. Exdale, huge tower going up. And there's more coming. Those who've been paying attention know. South Street, there's 2 more towers being planned. We need to make sure that we put someone in there who can fight for our neighborhood. And if you put your faith in me, I will do everything I can for you, as I always have.